One of the things that you share is how you hold space for people. And I would love to have you describe, because that's kind of a popular term these days, holding space for someone. But in your world of coaching, what does that look like? What does that mean you're doing with another person?
I love that question. What is holding space for someone? It's a lack of doing in a way. So let's suppose you're going through something and you are freaking out. You're stressed, you're anxious. I had a client recently who hired me to help double revenue, and then she was diagnosed with cancer. So I did a session with her and her partner, and largely I was just there being with them and holding space and listening as she shared. And initially when I was a coach, I figured I had to jump in and fix things. And I'm still very solution focused, but there's a time to not do that. There's a time to just be the container so that she could feel everything that she's feeling. And even though she may not be in a space of this is all okay, that's the space I'm holding. Because I know at some level, I don't always know it consciously, that everything's okay, nothing's wrong, and nothing really matters. So it's like I rest in that place. And then eventually she might find her way there to, oh, this is all okay. And if not, I can share the space that I'm holding, which is a space of this is a new adventure. What's possible out of this? And we ended the session with, so what game are you going to play now? Given that you have this diagnosis and the length of your life is less certain than it was before, what do you want to do with that time? But that came after just holding space. And there was a coach by the name of Satyan Raja, who was one of the most amazing trainers and coaches I know. And he once said, I get the sense that David could hold space for someone going through absolutely anything. Another example is if someone's suicidal. There was a young man in California who had tried to take his life twice. And I reached out to a woman who told me about it. And I said, look, I'm not a therapist, but I'd be willing to talk to this young man if the parents want me to do it. And she went and set it up. The parents were like, yes, please. And I said to this kid, I bet everyone's freaking out. Everyone's freaking out. That's the opposite of holding space. Everyone's trying to change it and fix it. And they're so scared you're gonna try a third time and be successful. He's like, yeah. I said, well, I'm not sure I'd try and talk you out of it. Just so you know, I might want to make sure you're thinking logically and you've tried everything else. But if you get to the point and you decide this is too hard, I can get that. That's what I mean by holding space for him to be anything. I've got another friend who is suicidal here in Boulder, and I went and spent time with her. And I said, look, if you're thinking straight, you've tried everything, and you really want to go, you don't have to do it alone. I'll be with you. So to me, that's holding space. I said, I'll make sure you're thinking straight. Like if you're totally charged and your thinking's haywire and it's something you haven't really thought through and we haven't tried all the options, I'm going to probably want to slow you down. And she's like, okay, I understand that. But no one else in her life can hold space for what she's experiencing and her desires and her fears and whatever, because they've just got it that it's wrong. You
Mm.
cannot take your own life, and I've got to keep you on the planet, no matter how much you're suffering. Yeah, that's not holding space. That's your own stuff coming in to get in the
Mhm.
way.
Yeah. Can you share what happened in both of those cases?
Yeah. Well, with the young man, I didn't keep in touch with him, but we had a really great call, and he seemed to feel more grounded and accepted and seen and witnessed. And then with my friend, she seemed quite moved, and she said no one else has said that. And the idea that if she does take her own life, she doesn't have to do it alone seemed to really have some impact as well. So anyway, she's still with us.
Oh, I love both of those, David, because what you're demonstrating in your presence in both of those situations is this, to me, here's how I'm reading it, just pure love, pure acceptance of this other person as a fellow human being without trying to impose any of your own judgment, sense of right or wrong. And I think they had to have felt that from you in order to, I guess, have relaxed into the space that you provided for them.
That may be true. I just thought about another friend who tried to take his own life a couple of times, and I was fortunate enough to find out about it. One of my best friends since I was 5 years old. And I even said, what hospital are you in? And he said, well, this is the hospital I'm in, but I'm not taking visitors. And I knew exactly what to say because someone did this for me one time. I said, well, you don't have to see me, but I'm coming. And I showed up at that hospital, and he did tell the nurse he'd see me. And I think one of the reasons is he knows that I've been massively depressed. I've had thoughts of taking my own life. I never got to the point where I was going to do it that week. I was like, I think I could get through a year of this hell, and then I'd probably go. But he knew that, so he was willing to let me come in. And I think I was able to just be with him because I had a sense of how hard and horrible it could be. That was holding space. I shifted from that, though. It's not like I'm always holding space. I shifted from that to being a stand for him. And so I said things like, if there's anything that you've said to me that I think by sharing it with someone else, I can help keep you around longer or support you, you should count on me to share that information. Don't expect that there's going to be confidentiality if that's involved. If I think it's going to help you, I'm going to share it with anyone I see fit. I want you to know that up front. And he was like, okay. And then I went and called his father, who he wasn't talking to. I called his sister, who he hadn't talked to in 6 years. I called his cousin. I got the family together, and I went and got a caravan and got it delivered to his property so I could be on the property, but not in the house, and be there. And he actually had an amazing recovery. There were a few times where he was very close, and he called me and he said, okay, I do need help. I've just taken a jog and I've been thinking for an hour about how I'm gonna end it. I said, okay, great. Let's get on there. Now he's one of the happiest people I know. So I like to think that the space holding and the non-freaking out was something that was able to help him.
Mm-hmm. That calmness that you brought and strength, just hearing you describe what you did with him and those other two folks, there's a strength that you bring that doesn't even have to be said out loud. They sense it, they feel it. And I know that that's true with your business clients also. Let's think about some of the issues that people in the business world experience, because some of them may feel really despondent at times, but many of them aren't thinking as extreme as suicide. So talk a little bit about what are some of the issues they face where you find it important to hold space for them and help them think through and work through problems?
What a wonderful question. So my brain goes to some business things, and then my brain also goes to life things for business owners, because life happens to business owners too. And I'm going to draw from my own experience recently. As a business owner, I have challenges, and it's hard to read the label from inside the jar. So I can't really see things clearly. So I might be concerned about a promotion I'm doing, and I'm not sure if I've got the language quite right, or I might, have a cash flow concern. I'm like, I don't really know how to handle that. Or maybe it's financing for the new house and I need some creative ideas. So those are some places where I might get coaching on how do I handle this. But the life stuff that's been coming up so strongly for me recently, and I'm fairly, even though I've had 20 years of anxiety and depression, fairly stable finances, relationships, community, health, housing, like all of that stuff's fairly stable. And still, there are times when like I have to move home, have to move house, or there's a noise trigger and I got to deal, like, how do I deal with that? Or I could have a fight with someone close to me and I'm feeling upset and I'm not clear. I'm not really clear on what it is I even want or I even need. I just know I'm upset. And how wonderful to be able to talk those out with a coach or a therapist. Friends are good. I use friends all the time for this, but friends aren't going to show up week after week and track what you're doing and ask the questions and hold you accountable necessarily. And, plus there's only so much they're going to listen to. So I definitely use friends, but I don't find it takes the place of a coach. So does that cover a few different areas where someone might be feeling challenged and they're like, I
Mhm.
got to get clarity on this and I got to work
Yeah.
out what right action looks like?